Hello. I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about next, and I figured that an easy and relevant topic would be to share my experience as a tools programmer in the game industry over the years. And as for why you should care, if you want a job that pays as well, or maybe even better, than being a gameplay engineer and has much more job security, consider being a tools engineer. So I think when people imagine what being a programmer is like in the games industry, they very often just think of writing the code that does gameplay stuff, right? Like movement systems, combat, game logic for enemies and AI. And obviously that's a huge part of it. It's literally like that's making the game. And that's where I started my career for the first couple of indie studios that I worked in. But something that is maybe less prominent and hence worth talking about is that the games industry also needs people with other skills, people who help create the tools that make the very active game creation possible, right? And so you might imagine that nowadays, because of how common it is to use like Unreal and Unity, even in the AAA space, and how proprietary and in-house engines have become less prominent and how they've just sort of started to decline, doesn't that making having your own tools engineers sort of pointless? Wouldn't you just be able to use the engine and that kind of solves all your problems? Well, no, it does not. The commercial engines that we have nowadays are amazing, to be clear, but the issue is that the way they're built is to be very generic in terms of the types of problems that they solve. Which makes sense. It's impossible to make a game engine that can solve every kind of problem or provide tools to build every type of game, right? Like it's just too wide a possibility space. You can't make a tool that solves everyone's problems across every kind of game that you could possibly make. That's just not ever going to happen. But this is where tools programmers come into the picture. So some examples drawn from what I've done over the years as a tools engineer is to create tools that, for example, help cinematic artists make cutscenes with greater ease, modifying or adding to the UI of the game engine itself in order to allow for some more custom actions to be performed, like spline-based tools in order to assist with level design, creating roads and rivers, placing fences, and yeah, you name it, right? Like anything that you can place along a curve, you can probably use a spline-based tool in order to help assist with that process. Procedural tools that help level designers iterate more quickly and just try out a bunch of different things, like layouts and visual styles, or for levels with a bunch of different parameters and options that they can tweak, and then just like quickly churn out a bunch of different outputs, right? Where they'll be like, oh, okay, we tried this, that looked kind of cool, or we tried this, that didn't really work. And just, yeah, like just try a bunch of different things and just see what sticks. Tools to help lighting artists place a bunch of different lights around the levels, and then different kinds of light, right? Like spotlights, directional lights, point lights, and then just batch process all of that stuff, bake out all the lighting for a level and the light maps, and just sort of prevent and save them time from having to do that manually over and over again. And really, that's kind of the essence of it. Like, there's no limit to what a tools engineer can do in order to help the people actually creating the game work more effectively and create cooler and more ambitious stuff. When you are, as a tools engineer, you help automate a lot of the more tedious and kind of manual labor and annoying parts of the process and just make that be the click of a button. You then let the actual people making the game have a more fun and fulfilling time, and help them be more creative and just have more time to do the creative stuff. And that's how better and more ambitious, cooler games, and just really like anything in this world, that's just amazing tools help make amazing things happen. And so yeah, like that's what it's like just being a tools engineer. Is you essentially help really smart people enjoy their lives more and have a better time, and you get paid good money. And if I'm like, kind of like I alluded to at the start of this video, in my experience, for whatever reason, tools engineers often get paid quite a bit more, at least like relatively, compared to people that maybe are just like doing the actual act of content creation, like being a level designer, being an artist, or being a VFX person, or even a gameplay programmer. For whatever reason, at least in my experience, I've often seen that these roles are relatively underpaid. Like you still get paid pretty well, but compared to being like a tools engineer, the kind of job security that gives you, and then the demand for it just across different studios, no matter like what level of studio you're at, right? Like an indie studio, a mid-sized studio, a AAA studio, everybody needs tools engineers, and there's just not that many of us to go around. And so yeah, just it's like simple supply and demand. Like there's not a lot of supply and there's a pretty high demand, so there's a pretty good, yeah, chance that you're going to get paid quite well just to do tools stuff. That being said, it's also a very multidisciplinary role where you'll need to have a bunch of different kinds of knowledge and experience in a lot of different areas in order to maybe have a really good time and then also just be good at your job. Because yeah, like there's no limit to the number of tools that you can write, and then very often you'll get asked by people across a bunch of different disciplines to help them make tools for the thing that they're working on, right? And so I guess yeah, this is one reason why if you're someone that, even just thinking about what you want to do, if you feel like you enjoy just having a bunch of different stuff to do every day where no 2 days are the same, then being a tools engineer might be for you. And so yeah, that's just what I think about being a tools engineer in the games industry, and I hope this is helpful. See you next time. Thank you.